Hey there, it's Strutter. Today is May 6th, 2020, and it's the 52nd day of my lockdown diary. Yes, we are still essentially in lockdown here in British Columbia, Canada, and that is the subject of this story, so I will be talking about that in a moment. But first, I just wanted to mention I have been off for a few days. I haven't taken, I think, 4 days off before, or 3 days off anyway, a few days off from doing a diary entry here on YouTube and Library and BitChute, where I upload these two. But thanks for your patience and thanks for your comments. I'm doing well physically. I don't have any symptoms anymore. I don't think any occasional cough maybe, but we always have the occasional cough, I guess. So I'm not really sure if I'm reading too much into that or not, but I don't think I have any symptoms ongoing of any respiratory problems. And my family has been healthy that way, but it's just we are very rattled here, physically rattled and emotionally rattled, I guess. As the house is rattling, it's buzzing, humming. We have to wait until late in the day to record anything. Or really to do anything. You can't really think that well. You can't meditate for sure. You can't say the baby can't have a nap. All kinds of things can't be done while the house is physically shaking like that. It's just terrible with the steamroller that goes up and down out front every day, all day. It's just not right to put a person essentially into a cage, lock people into their houses and into their yards and say you cannot leave this place. This is one of the first times that's ever been done in history, other than house arrest. And now to do that as well as put heavy-duty construction going on all around that person. Essentially, it's like a caged animal being rattled. It really is disruptive and making it so that you can't hear or each other or even think. So that's why I've been off for a few days. But now I want to read this article. It's talking about BC reopening. Finally. Now, this is not my idea of reopening. Maybe I'll talk about another day. But my idea essentially is to go back to how things were, or even more free than how things were, to have free markets to allow people to exchange goods and services, to trade, to barter, to lift a lot of embargoes and fees and duties and taxes and tariffs and all that crap, and a lot of regulation. End the prohibition of cannabis and prohibition of a lot of non-harmful, safe plants and maybe fungi even, and just really get away from prohibition as a whole and over-regulation as a whole. And I think that that would be sort of a start for my idea of society. And I would even like to go further than that and have a really true, voluntary, everything voluntary, no taxes, very anarchistic, no rulers, but rules, but no rulers kind of society where we decide what the rules are as a people. But that doesn't seem to be at all what is coming. I'll read this for you and we can decide where they seem to be taking this. And who are these people that are taking society in a certain direction anyway? I thought it was just supposed to be natural and organic and society just goes where it goes, and then the government is there to keep us, keep us free, basically, was how it was supposed to be set up. But what they say here is museums, restaurants, cafes, art galleries, libraries, parks, and beaches to reopen mid-May. So the question is, why not now? Why announce it and then say, but not yet, don't do anything yet? It's a bit weird. And why not now? Is the virus still out there and we got to clean the streets or something? What's going on here? Or is it we haven't hit that peak in the curve? Because no, I don't think that's the case. We hit the peak 3 weeks ago in deaths and over a month ago in cases, so it's not that. But anyway, not till mid-May. And there will be no live audience, professional sports, international tourism, gatherings of more than 50 people, except in big stores, conventions, or large concerts until either a vaccine is found, broad treatment is available, or herd immunity is developed. the BC government revealed today. They revealed that there will be no blank, blank, blank. They revealed that. Why does the government get to decide that and then reveal that to us? Why do they get to choose these industries and these things and these rules and what's essential and what's not essential? That's very fascistic for the government to be that involved in the economy, to be in complete control over the entire food chain and the entire medicine and all industry now. And they've just said, okay, well, this is what's happening. This is what's happening here in Canada. And that's freaky. And another thing I note here is we can't gather to protest because that wouldn't be safe, right? No gatherings of more than 50 people. But we can gather in large numbers in stores to shop. So shopping, yes. Protesting, no. It says, as promised, the government outlined its gradual lifting of restrictions imposed on society and the economy. Well, that's just scary. I keep on getting caught up here. I know I'm supposed to be reading, but the government imposing restrictions on society and economy. They openly talk about it that way. And we know we know that's what's going on, but to see it so brazen and so just, that's okay, that's how it goes. And the media is just telling us this is what's next. This is how the government has decided that society and life will be like for people. But since a provincial state of emergency was declared on March 18th to deal with the global pandemic, and they don't say that state of emergency has been removed, suspended. It's still going, and liberty is still suspended and will be indefinitely. As New Zealand has said, we're going to stay at level 3 emergency forever to keep this at bay, to keep on their eradication plan that they have to completely eradicate it. Now, I think that's what's going to happen everywhere else. They're going to say, we've got to do it like New Zealand. We've got to go and stay in the state of emergency forever. So no more liberty, no more talk of liberties or freedom. And it's all about government power in order to keep you safe, keep the economy going, keep medicine flowing, keep food in mouths. We have to keep the government safe. It's all fascistic. This is a very fascistic model. It's classic fascism. It's all about the state, empowering the state, and the war effort, which of course Canada denies being part of, but is a part of all around the world. And so we're part of the war of the war effort, part of the imperialistic attack on the rest of the free world, basically, and spreading democracy with the United States, which is completely a fake idea. And that's just going to continue because we have no liberty. We're not allowed to protest. A state of emergency is going to continue to keep us safe, right? Now that they've got that, they're not going to let it go. And that has been my worry since the start of this, that no matter how important a lockdown is, or at least, some self-quarantine or whatever, to some degree, at least for a short term, no matter, that is going to be seized upon by this government. Of course it is. They always do. We talked about that at the very start. A crisis will not go to waste. And this is a crisis, and it has not gone to waste. And they are not done wringing all the juice they can out of this. Trust me, they're going to keep going. It says, in a series of slides presented to the media, BC's Deputy Minister of Health, Stephen Brown, said that as of the middle of May, the government will begin to restore health services that include elective surgeries. And some of these elective surgeries that have been suspended have resulted in people dying. So they were only so elective, right? I'm laughing, but it's a sad thing that people died because of this. They did. It's documented, tons and tons of deaths because we had to shut down everything. All that stuff. I was even affected. It wasn't an important thing for me, but they called me up. Well, they stopped calling me up, basically. They've been calling me for weeks about something I needed to get done, and finally I called them back and I said, I'm ready now, and they said, forget it. So a lot of stuff was suspended. I know that. Probably around February or so is when they did that. And a lot of people suffered, and a lot of people died because of that. And, so elective surgeries, dentists, physiotherapies, registered massage therapists, chiro, physical therapy, and speech therapy. This is all very important health services. It's considered non-essential. That's been a problem for a long time. It's not covered. This is all non-covered stuff. They consider it kind of quackery. Like chiropractors, they can sort of consider it all like non-essential, sort of like weird stuff. It's not. It's all very, very it's a lot of science behind all this stuff. And so that's not what I'm here to talk about. But the point is, this stuff should not have been suspended, or if it was, it should have been very, very briefly for a week or two, just to make sure that the healthcare system was not overwhelmed. And when we saw that it wasn't overwhelmed, we should have been easing back into putting this stuff back into effect, which has not happened. So they're still going to wait another, 2 weeks before they even start to ease this back into effect, And as I wrote here, withholding the care has caused suffering and death in BC. And was it worth it? That's an important question, because suffering happened and death even happened. So people and people's families are going to be asking that question: was it worth it? And who was responsible? And why was it so long? And why was it so deep? And why is it still happening? Why is it still going another 2 weeks? They say museums, restaurants, cafes, and pubs, with enough distancing measures, art galleries, libraries, parks, and beaches will also be able to reopen. And I note, cafes and pubs, so legal caffeine and alcohol dispensaries and lounges, right, are allowed, but not cannabis lounges or dispensaries, right? So it was legalized, but it's non-essential. So was it really legalized? And it's considered non-essential and it's not allowed to open. So basically, legalization was even more of a lie than we knew before. And I'll put down below my documentary, Legalization is a Lie, if you're not aware of that, and it is still sweeping across the world. So if you're in a place that is currently looking at it, think twice, please, about legalization. It's just corporate monopolies and government control. Surprise! Now, they say, Brown said that all businesses will have to comply with new regulations around maintaining social distancing and avoiding transmission. Okay, so it's all about that. That is the reasoning provided for everything, right? So you'll hear that for the next however many months or years. The answer will be C-19, right? That's just the answer to everything. Why is that? Why? Remember C-19? Remember the virus? No, don't ask questions. The answer is C-19, okay? And it will be for a long time, about everything. Don't ask. Don't question that, because then you're someone who's questioning, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist, basically, if you question anything to do with it, or you're a COVIDiot, or whatever they want to say. You will be shamed or criticized or worse if you question these new regulations. Hair salons, barbers, and personal service establishments must reduce or eliminate waiting areas, not allow walk-ins, and use non-medical masks. So many things to talk about there, I'm just going to let it go. If transmission rates remain low, if you're good, boys and girls, hotels and resorts can reopen in June. Also in June, parks can reopen. I know, why are they even closed? And the school system will reopen in September. So basically, congratulations everybody that was going to school and hasn't been since February or whatever. You graduated or you didn't or whatever. I don't know what happened, but ta-da! And things will be much different for you going forward. The old kind of school is over. When school returns, there must be a daily screening protocol for staff and students, smaller class sizes with increased space between desks. And will you be allowed to play games at recess? He said that industry associations across all sectors were expected to develop safe operating plans to be reviewed by government. So, basically the government tentacle is going into every industry. If it's not already heavily in there, it is getting in there now. And the government modeling shows that society can go back to no more than 60% of what it was. Let me read that sentence for you again. Government modeling shows that society can go back to no more than 60% of what it was. So there you have it. Everybody's taking a 40% standard of living loss, I guess. A 40% loss of efficiency, a 40% loss of income, a 40% loss of food, a 40% loss of whatever, everything. Everything, it cannot go back to what it was before, is essentially what they're saying. All of society, they're talking about the economy, they're talking about interacting with each other, interactions between people. It's all being brought back to this number of 60%, roughly about half or a little more than half, whatever, is going to be eliminated. Brown said British Columbians can almost double the amount of social contact they have and still maintain a flat transmission rate. So we can almost double the amount of social contacts we have. So they're basically saying, we can have that 40% back, we can have, or whatever, we can have almost half back of our lives, but not all of our lives. We can have about half of our lives back, and about half our income back, half our jobs, half of our money, half of our food, half of our standard of living back. This is austerity under a different name. This is a complete restructuring of an economy and of a society, and the government putting their tentacles into everything, every single part of society. And if it's not essential, not legalized, it's not welcome. In fact, non-essential is the new prohibition. They use the phrase double the bubble. Isn't that cute? Double the bubble. You can double the bubble. So I'm already hearing from people in my bubble, my world, that we are going to be able to double the bubble soon. And I said, is that going to mean we're going to be able to hang out? No, I've decided it'll be someone else. I'm sorry. But if they let us go a little bit bigger, I'll consider you for the next round. Literally, that's what's going on here. Government has decided who I'm allowed to talk to, including my own family members and friends, and who I can do business with, and who I can be around. Talking about people's bubbles. And it's not going to be left to us to police, if that's what you're thinking. He said the government would apply a lift and suppress policy, whatever the heck that is. Lift and suppress. Yes, that's a good term. Lift and suppress policy if there are unacceptably high rates. Not defined, but whatever. We will see. If we decide that it's unacceptable, we will do the lift and suppress policy. Whatever that is. Maybe our bubble is not going to be allowed to double anymore. Brown said the government plan would provide a sustainable new normal for the coming 12 to 18 months. New normal. I keep on hearing that. New normal. Disgusting phrase. While a vaccine was developed and deployed. So a vaccine needs to be developed and deployed. Everyone has to be vaccinated before society is allowed to go back to a new normal. It's wow. We're not even going to be allowed to get to that new normal, even if a vaccine were to come out and enough people were to accept it, or it was to be forcefully deployed on the population. Heaven forbid, but that is obviously being talked about. Then it's still no guarantee that society is going to go back to normal. Government has gotten their hand into everything through this. That is the point. That was the point of this whole thing. This crisis is either just being seized on opportunistically, or was created in the first place so that this could be done. And I've said all that from the beginning. That's what's been going on here. And it ain't done. They're still going. Believe you me, it's not done. The last part here says, we can continue to refine and tweak the balance of actions based on closely monitoring transmission. And yes, contact tracking smart device apps are being developed. That's what they're talking about in the video clip to this, the 2-minute video clip that you can see the thumbnail for there. That's what she's smiling about there. Just saying, oh, everybody and their dog is pitching an app for this and that. Well, here's another one for you guys. We're going to do an app for everybody in Canada so that we can track who you know, where you buy things, where you go, where you've been, who you've been near and who you've been around and who you've talked to and all this kind of stuff. If your smartphone wasn't already giving enough information away about you. Here it comes. This is the New World Order that was announced months ago and that was put into effect a couple of weeks ago, and I'll put the links to that down below, of course, but this has been announced by name as the New World Order for a long time, for years, but especially in the past few months by Mark Carney several months ago, and then more recently they're talking about all this New World Order, getting rid of shops, getting rid of cash, getting everybody onto smartphones, making sure that everyone's got the app to trace and tell the government exactly who they've been around, who they've been with, who they've done deals with, what they've purchased. This is the technocratic nightmare, dream come true for the technocrats that have been looking to seize control over society for a few generations now, and this has been their plan, and it is now finally coming to fruition. And a lot of people are still in the dark about that and think that all this is just some kind of coincidence, that all this is happening, and that me and several other people have been able to see this coming almost verbatim for decades even. I've been talking about this for 12 years on YouTube and elsewhere longer than that, and other people have been talking about it for a lot longer than me. And this, there's a reason why that we were labeled conspiracy theorists, but yet everything that we have said has ended up being correct. Myself and several other people. Of course, not everybody who talks about this has been right about everything that they've said, but many people have, including myself. And it's been disturbing for this to all, play out, and to see it coming all the way to fruition, and still to have people around me either A, in complete denial, just complete denial, and they cannot hear anything with their ears plugged, or they will hear it and they will say, you know what, that's too scary, I cannot deal with it. And they go back and put their heads in the sand and try and live in the Matrix. And that clip where Cypher says, ignorance is bliss, and takes a giant bite of bleeding fake Matrix cow steak comes to mind.
Ignorance is bliss.
It's coming to a head. Something is going to happen here. There's some people who are not okay with what's happening and aren't going to do it, and I'm one of them. And we are going to be made fun of at best. We are going to be labeled, terrorists at worst, because a lot of the things that are coming, they're going to say stuff like, we all must do this. We're all in this together. It takes all of society to, take the vaccine, or to accept the contact tracking smart apps, or whatever. It takes us all to do it in order for us all to be safe, which is bullshit. It's illogical and it makes no sense, but that's what they're going to try and say, and a lot of the people are going to go along with it, and I'm afraid that a lot of us are going to get swept up in that, and that's what I've been warning about for a long time, and this is just another in that chapter. I'll keep on this story, of course, and I'm going to leave it there. Put the links down below. Thanks for listening, and stay well.